Welcome to Percentile Vice. My name is Emily. I'll be your keeper this evening, and I promise I will figure out how to speak at some point. Tonight I am joined by Steve and John, and for the first time ever in person, we have Hannah. So, super excited to have you here in the room with us. It's not something normally you port in, and that's super great. We are continuing our playthrough of our homebrew Call of Cthulhu campaign called The Children of Cthulhu. We are in the segment called Laughing at the Wind. John, do you want to give us a recap of what happened last time before we get started?
Sure.
Thanks.
We are inside of the special structure at Tula. Mm-hmm. We have gone forward a little bit. We were hearing some voices and stopped hearing some voices, and there was a big abyss with a bunch of platforms, raised stone platforms on it, and we had to jump across, and Nate, being the pioneer of the group, the
chief of security, he went first. He had a little bit of trouble, but made it across okay. Then Kara and Bernard made it across a little easier, but
it was important for your safety, which I am in charge of, that I show you what not
to do. This is a demonstration of what not to do.
And once over on the other side, Nate found a puzzle that he surmised would open the next door and started working on it. Kara and I believe we started examining things, and we learned that Kara learned that the slope of the place looked like it was something that would flow water, and there were other indications that there was a water flow, including the corners that could have been 90-degree angles were 245s instead, as though it was meant to slow down the water. Shortly after making it across, there was a cultist who came out and was chanting, and there was blood flowing down, and there were bodies all around him. And Bernard said to stop it as a command to his stone soldier army, and the cultist folded up and crumpled, and a giant monster, chimera of some sort, a very alien-looking being with different animals as the heads and bodies, and very not what you would expect to see in the zoo, came out and began to come towards us. Bernard, trying to think quick, decided when he told these statues to speak, it had a very negative,
severely negative
interaction with everything around it. So he told them to scream, which resulted in the rest of the party getting some deleterious effects.
Yeah.
But it did end up with the monster plummeting into the abyss.
All right. Yeah. So you guys are standing in this hallway where you have done most of the pieces of the puzzle along the hallway, lining up the lines of this swirling green kind of inlaid stonework. You have just witnessed this large chimera monster that has skin-like tectonic plates and the muscly sinew underneath, almost like technicolor magma that has just plummeted down to the abyss. And you guys have the floor. So what would you like to do?
I'm going to continue working the wall puzzle and occasionally glancing over my shoulder at Kara, who seemed to have a moment just a few seconds ago where she shoved me hard and
she really lashed out.
Yeah. So
okay.
Trying to keep up with her, because when she put her mind to working the puzzle on the other side of the wall, she's like blowing me away as far as progress. So
okay.
Now that the immediate problem seems to be gone for a second, I'm going to try to help Nate, since Kara seems to have her side pretty well handled. I'm going to try to help Nate as much as I can.
Okay. And Cara?
I'm just gonna keep working on this puzzle. Dead set on it.
Okay. So it only takes you guys a few more minutes to get through.
Don't say dead set.
It's never a good choice. To get through the majority of the puzzle. There seems to only be like 1 or 2 of these tile plates left. Everybody make me a listen roll, please.
Poof, you're a listener.
Damn it. I was like, please, nobody have caught it. They always catch it. That's the joke. Thunder cracks in the distance.
I failed my listen roll.
I also failed with a 99.
Nice.
That's a fumble fail.
Yeah. So you two are just plugging away at these tiles. If anything, probably these tiles, in the movement of them, they make a lot of this like scratching, like screeching of tile and stone against each other, that really unpleasant sound, and you guys are kind of really intensely working on it. And I'm not saying any of this to give John time to pull up his character sheet.
I knew I forgot something. Now Roll20's acting weird.
Yeah, I was in it earlier today and it was being a little bonkers.
That is a fail.
Okay.
I was pretty sure it was, but...
Okay.
How about, so there's one stone warrior on this side of the abyss with us watching the door per...
That's true.
B-Money's direction there. So does he get a listen roll?
I'm gonna, for once, say no.
Okay.
I'm gonna say a no.
This is going out to millions of people, and then see what a bitch you're going to be about this. So.
Buckle up. All right. So you guys are working away. Yeah, you're able to get through all the way down to this very last one, but this last one before the door is the most complex. It is the amalgamation of all of these different pieces that have all come together. And so there are, where most of the other ones had 2 to maybe 6 of these lines that you had to line up, this one has 12, 15 somewhere. It's in a really difficult one. So I'm going to need I need one of y'all to decide who's going to work on this puzzle piece, and I need you to make me a roll of some kind. I will take some suggestion as to what you want to roll for and why. But this one is the most complex. It's almost like the keystone piece.
So if it was chosen that Nate would do it, he would come at it with a mechanical repair. Thinking it'd be a lot like wires and making sure that the right connections were made.
Circuitry
Looking at the movable tile and where inputs are, and the wall and where the outputs are, and just looking at it real quick. And
Okay.
that's what I would do.
Does anybody else want to make a claim towards rolling for it, or are we going to let Nate do it?
I'm going Nate doing it.
Okay. All right, well, give me that mechanical use roll.
Success, 32 under a 46.
Okay. So as you kind of take a moment, you stand back and you kind of look at this, and you're looking at the outputs and the inputs and trying to kind of game plan, because like once you start moving it, you don't want to move your perspective. You really want to kind of get an idea, and you kind of clicks in your head. Okay, I understand. And you begin to turn it. When you start to hear this new scraping sound, it's very similar to what you're hearing when you move the tile, but it's much louder, and it's coming in rhythmic kind of
The thunder that's going on outside
So-
our studio right now,
ambiance.
paired with that was perfect.
There's this moment where all 3 of you are kind of really wrapped up in this
And
tile.
can I guess that it's coming from the direction of the abyss?
Yeah, there's a moment where you're all kind of really wrapped up in this tile, and you begin to kind of all realize what you're hearing. There's kind of this unanimous moment where you all kind of turn your heads back towards the abyss, just in time to see one large tectonic kind of claw just come right over the side into the hall that you're in. And then a snout and one crust-laden wing begin to make its way into this room.
And in between the plates, the shifting plates of its skin, we see that, I think you described it as Technicolor magma.
Yeah, pretty proud of that.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like molten.
It does. It does.
I'm sure the result of this puzzle, opening the door, is a stream of water to put this motherfucker out.
So there's this moment where you all begin to see this thing emerging from this abyss and climbing into the room, and there's this loud screech of a growl cry out into this thing and begins to reverberate in the room. And right then, Nate, you just have this moment where it's click, and the doors next to you do take this 1 second to kind of pop, and there's an immediate flow of water. It's small, but then the doors blast open, and I need everybody to make dexterity rolls.
I'm gonna yell, grab something.
Hard success.
Regular success.
Going on for I know I am. Barely a success. 32 under 40.
Yeah. So this torrent of water begins to pour out of this door. I mean, it is the entirety of the door frame that is just blasting water through this thing. You see it kind of ricochet up the wall that you're at, Nate, and you take a moment to grab hold of the door, which has opened in your direction, and get a good handle hold. The two of you, you're further down. Kara, you find one of those 45-degree angle turns and kind of just brace your feet up against each side and kind of things. Bernard, you are close enough to your stone guardian that you're able to kind of grab hold of one of its arms and keep yourself steady as this water begins to bank very swiftly and harshly against these 45-degree angles in this waters and just begins to make its way rapidly through this hall. And there's a moment where it just slams into the front of this being, and there is this massive as steam begins to pile through this hallway. It becomes so humid and hot in this hallway, it's almost unbearable. It's like being in a sauna as you hear crackling and crunching of tectonic plates begin to kind of crunch and seize together. You see one claw come out of the mist right at you as it seizes up and stops. And then you hear this sound of stone beginning to crack and crumble and fall backwards. Right as this mist begins to kind of level out down and redistribute because of the discrepancy in weight as it hits the floor, you see this monster's head still blinking, although jaws and head is stuck in place, still blinking as it begins to fall precariously back down over into the abyss.
Wow. Nate's going to sort of back that way to the extent that he can see him and say, die, you son of a bitch.
Get wrecked. All right. So, you guys have opened the door. The water in the room escapes quickly. There's still streams of it and little pools of it where stones are uneven or anything like that. But it's evacuating out to the abyss at a very high rate, leaving this wide open doorway. Looking inside, you see something that is incredibly unique in that there's a secondary door inside. It's much smaller, but all around it, it's like the inside of a funnel, where between wall of that you can see and another wall behind it, there is this passage that the water would have been held in. You can still see drips of water and bits of mold where this water has been stored for thousands of years, and it's allowed to come out in front of this door. But this door is very plain in consideration to what you've seen recently, which is, these large stone filigree doors. This is a plain, solid stone door with a very small little notch handle. It's one person wide instead of these giant double doors that you've been seeing. It's almost not meant to be seen, is the vibe you get. It's just very
Is this on
plain.
All right, so the double doors open up into a room?
No.
Okay, it's more hallway.
It's neither. So you open the doors, and flush with the doors is this track that goes along the outside that funnels into the interior wall where all the water was stored. But on the inside of that tunnel is a door itself that is set. So when you open it, it's directly a door. Think like old cartoons when you open the door and there's a brick wall. But along the edge of the brick wall is this funnel system that allows water to be stored inside the walls, and it's still dripping, and bits of water are still escaping out into your room. But there is a stone plain door directly in front of you.
Well, we're not going back that way, so.
Wouldn't be us if we didn't just open random doors.
It would just not suit the plot. Yeah. So knowing that there's no going back at this point, the room with the abyss is all but destroyed. You guys press on this door. It was much smaller, much lighter than a lot of the other doors. At this point, it's a piece of cake to open in comparison to what you guys have done already.
It's like throwing open a screen door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try to open it.
Yeah. And it opens right away. It opens inward into a very small room. Small enough that it's really only one person capacity. But directly in front of you, Nate, is a ladder leading up into the darkness.
Okay, so I'm going to look up. Is there any light from above at all?
No.
We got a ladder. I don't know, guys. So, all right. Well, we got to get out of here, and this is the way. But something's bothering me a little bit here. All right. So, when we were in Egypt, and we took care of that thing there, right? We knew when we were done, and we had, like, the staff and the book. And are we done? Or is there something we're supposed to, like, get off of that thing? Or we're just supposed to, like, dispose of it? By the way, did you notice the eyes were still, like, alive, even though the rest of them was, like, cooled down, solidified, and crumbling?
So you know how a tortilla, when you get it, like, freshly made, it's nice and warm and pliable, and then as time goes on, it gets kind of crunchy and dries out. But
starts on the edges first, and then works. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But you can put a little water in it, put it back in the oven, heat it back up, and it won't be the same as it was, but it's a lot closer to soft and pliable once it heats back up. I think maybe, just maybe, we should get out of here before that thing heats back up.
Yeah, well, I don't know where this ladder goes, but it doesn't go that way, so...
That's the best way to not go.
All right, so I'll go up first, Bernard second. You cover our asses with your guns, too.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
So you begin to ascend this ladder into pitch darkness. Are you going to, like, pull out a flashlight, or are you going to move forward into darkness?
Yeah, I'm going to pull out a flashlight, and I'm going to try to, like, hold the flashlight between just a couple fingers so that I can still use the hand to ascend, rather than, doing that. I'm climbing with one hand, and each run up is another chance to fall.
You don't trust me at all, do you?
No, I don't trust Nate.
Dexterity roll for every rung.
I mean, if it gets to the point where the flashlight is diminishing his ability to climb the ladder, he would probably douse the light, because...
Up is up at this point.
You know what? I'm going to turn the flashlight on and stick it in my pocket.
I thought you were just going to have it in your mouth and just, like, point it up while you were going up.
Yeah, I would, but I don't want to give John the satisfaction.
Do our archaeology kits happen to have, like, the headlamps?
I was going to say roll me a luck roll, but that just means yes for John.
I spent 20 last time.
What are you at?
71.
Sure, roll me a luck roll.
16.
Then yes, there's a headlamp.
So I'm going to...
Probably see me trying to figure out how I'm going to hold this thing.
He's
and
like,
click.
I'm going to go ahead and pass you the headlamp since you're going first. And that way you don't have to...
Being head of security and all.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, so I'm sure I'll fumble with the headlamp for a little bit, trying to figure out how it straps on your head and all that, while not looking stupid to my compatriots.
Right.
Climbing up the ladder.
Okay. So you begin to climb this ladder, and it is a long climb. You continue to go, and even with the light from your headlight, it's still very, very dark. If you're not pointing your head in a specific direction, there's very little, ambient light being spread. But after what feels like maybe 20 or 30 feet of climbing, it's getting very laborious to get up this ladder. You feel your hand reach kind of like a top ledge. And as you look up, you realize that it kind of peters out into a small tunnel. As you don't.
Oh, that's fine. I'm good. Please continue.
As you climb, you're able to get yourself into this tunnel and realize that it's not quite standing height. It's like maybe a low crouch, not like all the way down, but like hunched over. And you can see that it goes on for a ways in front of you, and then off to the side. The walls are very crudely carved out. There are gouges of like chisels and picks. It seems to be some kind of maybe service corridor.
So does the tunnel only go one way? It's like the hole didn't come up like in the middle of the tunnel. It came up at the end of the tunnel.
Correct.
Hey, geez, guys, this thing, we got ourselves a tunnel up here. It's a little tight, but I think you can walk through it if you're like, like crouched down. So,
that just means it can't follow us, so.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to come a few feet in and wait for them to come up, offering a hand to get up into.
Okay. Yeah, they're all able to join you just fine, and you guys can continue on if you would like.
So did we just leave your remaining stone warrior behind?
I was gonna see if he could come up the ladder.
He is too large to fit into the room.
Then yes.
That room is, even for people like of your size, it's a tight fit.
But you still got your pocket warrior.
I do have the pocket
You do
warrior.
have a pocket warrior.
Don't know what it does, but it's cool. All right. Well, then I'm going to pull one of my guns.
Okay.
Since I don't have to use a hand with a flashlight, and start making my way down the corridor up to the bend.
Okay. It feels like everything that you say is very much like the like I want to look at the door. I want to check for traps. I want to listen at the door. I want to smell the door. Like, I feel like you're very, very concerned. Like, I'm at any moment, I'm just going to be like, and it's back.
Well, there's that. And, I don't want these guys to think less of me in my head of security position.
Oh, that's true.
I can't believe you didn't even check the door for
Did
traps.
not even check the door for traps.
It's right there at page 3 of the security guide manual. Doors.
Check the door for
check
traps.
for traps.
Yeah. All right. So you're able to continue down this tunnel. And when you get to the bend, you turn, you see it continues on and then turns another time. And you guys go for several minutes, probably 10, 15 minutes through these service quarters until you...
So, I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think you said we went up, about 30 feet on the ladder?
20 to 30 feet. It's hard to tell because it was dark. But...
So knowing where we came into this temple... Right, and then we went down and then across and back up. Am I getting any sense of how far away from the surface we are? Like, are we still a long way from the surface, or do I feel like we're pretty close to the surface?
You could roll for that.
Navigate.
I was going to say, it sounds kind of like a navigate.
Not likely to pass this, but if I happen to pull it off, I get to.
Yeah. Could kind of be natural world too. Kind
of. Navigate seems more.
Maybe track if you're running while you do it.
All right, I'm going to do navigate. I've only got a 10% chance of this, but it'd be great.
It'd be epic if you did it.
It'd be great to tick this one off and be able to improve that skill. Yeah, that's a big no. 76 over a 10.
Yeah, you're not really sure. It's not. It could be because, the climbing in the dark is kind of throwing you off, or just the amount of things that have happened to you in the last 45 minutes that you've been, because you guys have not been in here very long. It may just be that you're incapable of kind of equating what happened, all that stuff in the middle and the two things on the other side. Like it's a sandwich that won't go together.
Yeah, I'm from New York, right? So once we get beyond subway depth, I lose all.
It's all gone. Yeah. So you're able to continue on, like I said, 10, 15 minutes. It's a long trek, but it's also a slow going trek because you are kind of this hunched over, you're not your full, leg span of walking. And you take another turn and you can see further down that there is some light being emitted further down the tunnel.
There's a light ahead. Well, hopefully it's going to get us out of here and we can circle back around and get in the vehicle and leave. Hopefully Iggy's all right, but at least I hope it's the surface. So
yeah,
just be cautious. Don't know if those people are there or the cultists' friends or anything like that. So
at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see federales and police up there. So
yeah, so you
onward.
Yeah. So you continue down, and when you get down to the end of the tunnel, what you see is, imagine you're in like a hallway with no lighting, and you're looking at a doorway leading into a room.
I've been doing that for like the last 10 minutes.
Like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But you're standing in a door leading into a room that is very well lit, and there's that line of light coming through, and you can tell that this stone is different on this wall, where it's kind of dead-ending, and there's like light all around. Like it's almost like, as head of security, gives you very secret passage vibes.
Gotcha. So at this point, I'm going to turn off the headlamp, take it off, and turn and hand it back to Bernard.
Okay.
With a really, really strange look on my face. Like, as I hand it to him, remembering that I had night vision goggles.
This whole
Probably
time.
could have just used those to climb the ladder with, but I keep that part to myself. But he probably sees the look on my face. How he interprets it is beyond. But it's definitely a dope look on my face. So.
Dear diary, today I missed a chance to use my night vision goggles.
Damn it. All right, so the outline of a door, bright light coming from it. Can I make a natural world roll to try to determine if this is man-made or natural light? Like sunlight.
I get what you're saying.
Is different
Yeah,
than incandescent lighting or neon lighting or.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Go ahead, make the roll.
Not much of a chance here either, but just looking to check off some skills.
Just checking off them boxes.
It's a light.
It's a light. Yeah, with such little to go off of, you're just not really sure.
All right. Does there appear to be a handle on the door?
No.
All right, I'm going to kind of give a little push on the door, like those cabinet doors, like you push in a little bit and they pop open.
I know what you're
That's kind of the move I'm making on
it. So you push against it. You do feel that it could give, but it is excessively heavy.
Okay. I'm going to push a little harder, like put my shoulder into it to see if there's any mechanism, bar, or anything that's keeping it, or if it's just a matter of you got to push hard enough.
Okay. You see that you make a little bit of purchase on it, a couple centimeters, but you can tell there's nothing barring it, but you are going to need to really throw your back into it to get enough movement to open it.
All right. Is there enough room in this hallway for Bernard and I both to push against this door, or is the confines too tight?
You probably would not be able to push side by side. But if one of you was like against the door and the other one was, trying to like from behind, like reach over and add, you might be able to do something
less effectively. What's the floor like? Smooth, rough?
It's rough hewn, just like the walls.
All right. Hey Bernard, I'm gonna need your hand with this. So I'm going to turn around with my back against the door go down into a seated position, find purchase on the rough-hewn floor with my legs, and push against it low so that Bernard can reach over me and push against it high.
I broke a childhood bedroom door this exact same way.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I need you both to make a strength roll with advantage, please. Or I guess not advantage, but a bonus die. Whatever the thing is called.
I got for bonus die. I had a hard success with a 25, but my personal roll was a failure.
Regular success.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys are able to...
it's the leg power.
It is the leg power. You're doing probably the lion's share because the weight
of
it...
head of security.
Well, yeah. And because like the weight of the door on the ground and the friction is really what's causing the majority of the problem. And so by you being low down and focusing so much force right there, you're able to really push it. Really what Nate is doing is he is giving you that swing motion that you need. You're putting force and he's guiding the door out. But you guys are able to move it. You're able to get it about maybe 2 feet wide open, enough for y'all to kind of get through, but you kind of reach a point where you're no longer able to exert enough force to get it all the way open, but it's enough open, leading into an outside area. You can tell immediately from the light, the sounds, the smells that it is outside.
It's outside. As far as this door is going, though, so I'm just going to turn around and crawl since I'm that low out into the open and clear the way for these two to come out.
I will leave as well.
Kara turns around and goes back.
This ain't over.
Fuck that shit up.
Yeah, I leave.
Okay. So you guys kind of all spill out of this small opening into an outdoor area. Kara and Bernard, you immediately recognize this based on topography of where you were as a portion of Tula that is not accessible to the public because they consider it to be, they've already researched it, they've already kind of combed through it. It's at this point being left alone. They've moved on to other portions of the site. But it is a large outdoor hall of sorts, not like a walking hall, but like a banquet hall type room. And it didn't used to be outside. You can tell immediately that there are walls and there are portions of a ceiling, but the majority of it has kind of fallen away. The ceiling there's only about maybe 20% of the ceiling left up there. The rest of it is gone. It's been cleared away. You can see signs of old dig sites there, some A-framing, holding up particularly precarious things, old lights being hung. But it's definitely in a state of disuse. Like they're not currently looking into this room. One of the first things you notice, though, is that the walls of this room, they are covered in these intricate carvings of faces, in all different, manners of expression. Some of them eyes closed, some eyes open, some in half smiles, some, gaped with, just screams. And there's hundreds taking up every square inch of this stone wall, and it's been carved in. There is a doorway leading out to one side, leading out further into outside actual proper. Because while you are outside, you are inside of a structure.
The walls are pretty much intact. Right?
For the most part, there's some areas where there's chunks of it missing.
But it's not like you could just step over the wall and be outside of this room. We are in a room, and
you would need to use the door to exit, yes. But there is no ceiling.
Well, I'm going to look at the carvings. Was it carvings or paintings? Carvings of faces on the walls. I'm going to look at them, and I'm going to turn back to these two and says, it looks like you guys are up. I'll go look for a puzzle.
All right. Kara, what you doing?
Can I look at the faces and see if I recognize any?
Certainly. What kind of roll you want to make? I guess it depends on what kind of familiarity you're looking for. Are you looking for historical familiarity or like recent people you've met?
There's Abuela.
Abuela.
Kind of recent, kind of just like dream feel, like, where you might not even remember the dream, but like something happens and you're like, I dreamed about that once.
So then I would do maybe a spot hidden because you're really looking for things that are jumping out at you, not for something specific.
Just a regular success. 63 under 75.
Okay. No, they don't seem to give you any specific feel of anything.
Mhm.
There's some that are more disturbing than others. And with everything that's gone through today, some of them are, especially you've had a lot of close calls today. You find it difficult for some of these faces that seem to be like crying out in horror or in pain. That those are particularly upsetting for you. But no, there's not anything that's calling out as like deja vu or anything like that. No.
Okay.
Bernard.
Can I look and try to see what the message of the art is?
Yeah. So make me
Anthropology.
anthropology. Yeah.
Poof, you're an anthropologist.
Poof.
14.
Don't.
So that's a hard success.
Okay. As far as a message, you're not really sure what the message is, but you do remember, in knowing you were coming to Tula, you had done a little previous research into it, and you remember reading something about, several decades ago, they had done some excavation of this site, and they had colloquially called it like the Hall of Faces, and that most people who are in there have kind of an uneasy feeling, and, a feeling of being watched. A lot of people talking about hearing, voices and all stuff, all the spooky hidden, stuff that you get on all the, some travelers say that they can even hear the voices of the old, like that kind of thing. But you do know that they call it colloquially the Hall of Faces.
Okay.
Yep. So make me a no.
Poof, you're a no.
Bernard, roll a POW roll, please.
$59 over a 55.
Okay. So you feel something very similar to the connection you make with your stone warriors. Really fervently reaching out to you. And it feels kind of different in that with the stone warriors, you did a spell connected to them. So you kind of reached out and connected to them. This is something, it feels like calling back. But you rolled high enough that you get a choice as to if you answer that phone call or not, effectively.
I failed the roll.
Did you fail it or did you succeeded it?
59 over a 55.
Oh, well, then never mind. You failed it. My bad. I misunderstood what he said. I don't know what I thought he said.
Stop. Rewind.
Retcon that shit.
So, are you telling me right now Cthulhu was trying to call me?
Yes. So you do feel that kind of reach out to you, and you try to kind of push it back. But it's so intense, it's so strong, and I think after everything that's happened today, you're just really psychologically kind of beat down and tired, and you just don't have the mental fortitude to really push hard enough back.
He was telling you about your sanity 60
He's in warranty. So before we get into that for you, you two make me roll spot hidden rolls, please. I promise to break myself of that. I promise.
Don't break yourself of that.
The roll, the make me a spot hidden thing?
Yeah. Hard success.
Okay.
Regular success.
Okay. So you guys both notice immediately that Bernard kind of glazes over. He's got this distant look. There's even kind of a moment where his eyes kind of seem like they kind of roll back in his head a little bit, and they kind of right themselves, but there's this moment of, just very out of it. But he's standing. He's well. He just seems to be really a million-mile stare. During this million-mile stare, Bernard. So, the sensation is very much like with your stone warriors. This connected out-of-body experience. But this time what you're seeing is the Temple of Tula being in its construction phase. And it's kind of hazy in places. And it's almost like looking back at like a memory. You see yourself kind of looking around, and you look down, you've got a hammer in one hand and like a chisel in the other hand. And you get this kind of sensation where you realize that you're a worker, one of the people building Toulon. And you see him kind of walking around, and he's going through the hall with the stone warriors that, you had been in, and heading into the room where the spinning tiles and the large slab had been. In that room, there are several people dressed in robes, kind of milling about, doing different things, and there's a large hole in the wall where the stone slab was that you've seen. Inside that room, there are 6 people standing, all dressed all very differently, very not local. Make a spot hidden roll for me.
19 is, I believe, a hard success.
So you can tell,
Yeah.
just within your own mind, based on just a lot of history that you know, that these 6 people, there's one dressed in a very Egyptian kind of garb. There's one dressed in a very Moroccan attire. Someone dressed very native to Mexico. Someone dressed very native to Greece type of area, Greenland, and Japan. Ancient kind of dress. And they're all standing in this room, and they all seem very concerned about this room. They're pointing out these different things and touching the walls and measuring and arguing, and you as this worker are kind of walking through, taking note, but you continue on, and the memory kind of fades away, and a new memory kind of washes over you. The temple is all but finished. Most of the workers are beginning to kind of wrap up their things. You see that there's this large stone slab that is adjacent to the hole in the wall, and these 6 figures are once again standing outside of it, talking and doing measurements and drawing things on the floor. There's all these people in robes kind of going around and anointing walls and pillars and the floors, and just bustle as you continue on about your business, doing what you're supposed to be doing for whatever your job is. That memory kind of wisps away, and another one rolls in. This one, the temple is completely finished. This room is now standing, and what you're seeing is you looking through the doorway into this room and seeing this large stone slab having been moved into place, covering the hole, and the 6 people standing there. They're chanting and they're calling out, and there's this gold electrical pulsing that's kind of sparking and arcing over this stone slab. All of these people dressed in robes are now on their knees, and they're humming in this low thrum that's filling the room. And you're only seeing slivers of it, but there's this moment where there's this big burst of gold energy, and the memory blinks out. Another memory comes in, and it's you standing in this room of the room that you guys are in now, but there's no faces carved on the walls. It's just stone slabs, but you can tell by the topography and the way that the room is built that you're in the same room. But around you, there's people cowering, crying. There's fear in everyone's eyes. There's screaming going on. You walk to the door leading outside, and you're instantly reliving those horrible memories that you got from your stone warriors speaking. There are bodies littering the ground, pools of blood and viscera everywhere, bodies ripped apart, faces contorted in pain and fear, as this horrid wasteland of death and destruction lay before this doorway you're standing in. And in the middle of this field, you see a woman standing. She has this translucent skin with blue, thick veins under the skin, and she's walking through this valley of death, and somewhere in your mind you know she is the cause. She is the root problem that has caused this massive amount of destruction. And she is gleefully just sauntering through these dead bodies. She's wearing garments made of golden chain, just draped over her body in such ways to simulate clothing, but the contrast of the gold to the sickly, thin, translucent skin, it's nauseating to see her. Long, black hair that's thick and greasy just dripping down her back as she is just covered in blood. And she's making her way towards this hall that you're standing in. And you begin to back up into this crowded mass of huddling, fearful people as she walks into the room. And everybody begins to cry out and scream for mercy and forgiveness and all of these things. And you see her bring one delicate blood-soaked finger to her mouth. And everybody silences. Not even heartbeats can be heard. Not rustling of sand, nothing. It's complete silence as you hear her say, "You've defied the old gods. You've chosen this path of death and destruction. How should I punish such insolence, such disrespect? I know. You shall forever stand as watchful eyes to the desolation that will come when she rises and walks the earth again." And she takes one hand and smears blood across the wall in a giant circle. And the stones of the walls begin to rumble and shake and start to ebb and flow almost like fluid as it begins to reach out and snatch people from the ground and pull them into the stone. And where they've been pulled in, these grotesque faces become carved into the stone. You see all these bodies being dragged, people screaming into stone and being melded with the stone. You see yourself being pulled back as you begin to be pulled into one lone stone warrior in the room and being absorbed in. And you see yourself looking out through stony eyes at the carnage and desolation as she giggles and walks out of the room. You come back to, you are standing back in the room with your two companions, faces of grotesque fear littering the walls as you now come to realize that these faces are actual people. The stone warriors that you've been commanding are actual people trapped in living stone by some horrific, awful being of destruction and death that came to fall on Tula.
The fuck?
Yeah, right there, Bernard, because you kind of look like the 2 a.m. donut shop in Queens there. You kind of got glazed a little bit.
Yeah. You know how I was talking to the soldiers down there?
Yeah.
Something just talked to me, and it put me in the body of someone who was building this place. And there were people here from all the places we heard about: Japan, Greece, Egypt, Morocco. They were here somehow and building this place. And then there was a woman, very strange looking woman, like something out of a Marvel movie or something. Just clear skin and... Sorry.
Don't cheapen my villains. Or you die first.
Cheapener villains. Somebody's got to go out of the issue. Before me.
Anywho.
Meanwhile.
So, yeah, there was some blue...
So you're saying she had a certain mystique about her.
Yeah.
She was not blue. She had blue veins under her translucent skin.
If you put a blue cucumber beside a plastic wrap, it'll still look blue.
Wow, we're going to be digesting that one for a while. Okay. Anyway, so this lady, I mean, geez, what about her, man?
She pulled all the people into the walls. Those are actual faces. The soldiers were actual people that got pulled in. Whoever I was seeing this story through was one of the soldiers.
I'm going to move as much towards the center of the room as possible, like not being too close to any wall.
As you look around trying to find ways around being too close to a wall, you do see the remnants of the very base of a stone warrior, just like maybe like the shins down, mixed in with some of the rubble. And it seems like there would have been one like station, like carved in this room, but it has since like disintegrated down into nothing. But a pair of feet do.
God, man, that looks like the crumbled remains of one of your stone soldiers there. You know, back there, those stone soldiers, they like crumbled and everything, right? But then we're still making the sounds that were hurting that magma monster thing.
They're still in there, I imagine.
I just wondered. I mean, it's just his shins and his feet there, but can you communicate with that guy?
Can I feel him?
Yeah, I mean, you can feel the connection.
I'm gonna tell him to reform.
Yeah, nothing happens.
I can feel him there, but I don't know what good he might be of us in his current shape.
Yeah, well, I mean, before he could reform, he first has to admit he has a problem.
His problem is he's all legs. He's all legs, Lieutenant Dan.
All right, so you're saying like ancient folks from all the areas that we heard that the 6 locations that Nafram is up to no good, this being the 3rd one we visited, ancient folks from those locations were here building this place.
That's what I saw.
And then somebody completely different, this weird... So was she naked under all these chains that were hanging?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this weird translucent blue-veined lady filled these walls up with actual human beings. That's what you're telling me here.
She pulled him into the walls.
So, what do you say we get out of here?
Can we release them? I mean, you've had a connection with them through the book. Is anything in the book, do you think, could help them get out? Just to a final resting place instead of this.
Yeah, that would probably be pretty cash money of me. Can I feel the people in the walls?
At least their noses.
Roll a power roll.
36 is a regular success, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of reach out with your mind, and you can, knowing what you're looking for, you're able to kind of like almost like open the bandwidth and start trying to pick up, and you can feel hot spots throughout the walls where you're feeling more presence than others. But the exercise is quite laborious. And you can tell if you were to try to really connect with that volume of people, you would need to expend quite a bit of magical energy, mystical energy to do so.
Going to try to ask them, how could we help you?
Okay. So you kind of send out on this bandwidth into the void, this plea of how can we help? What can we do? And you begin to get these echoes through this connection. And most of it is inconclusive screaming of agony and pain, confusion, desperation. occasionally you hear some voices actually, calling out, free us, kill me, make it stop. I just want it to end. Where am I? I can't see anything. Just this hogwash of disjointed voices beginning to pour into your head, and the longer you sit there, the worse it gets. So I need you to take 2 points of sanity damage as you continue. If you continue, you're going to continue to take this on, but you might hear more. But right now, it's this influx of hundreds of voices just pouring into your head. Will you keep the connection open?
Yes, and while I'm doing that for just a second, I'm going to say out loud, I can feel them in the walls, but
They're in the goddamn walls.
I can feel them in the walls, but I don't know how to get them out. I'm going to try to look a little harder.
What does Bernard look like to us right now?
You tell me, Bernard. How do you think that this strain, this manifestation of this AM/FM frequency effectively, how is it manifesting for you? What do you look like?
I think he looks pretty normal, but even though he is outside and there's sunlight, you can see his pupils are dilated almost to the point where you can see none of his iris. And he's not moving other than when he chooses to speak. He's just frozen, standing, an antenna.
It gives off very much, cats when they stare at a corner with the intent of, and it looks like they're staring at ghosts, this very vacant, blown out kind of iris look. Yeah.
Geez, Bernard, I don't know what's going on there, brother, but you're not looking good, man. I don't know. I think he needs to stop this. Look at him.
Yeah, give it a rest for now.
When we're talking about saving these people, they've been in the walls for thousands of years, man. I mean, pardon the pun, but they're stone cold dead. They're dead.
How are they dead if he can feel them?
He's in tune with memories. I mean, he just talked about things 1,000 years ago. That doesn't mean it's happening now, right? He's hearing screams from 1,000 years ago, just like he saw visions from 1,000 years ago.
I'm pretty sure we just fought a monster from 1,000 years ago.
It's only a few minutes ago. I mean, it feels like forever, but I hear what you're saying, but nothing good can come of this, man. Bernard, man, get a hold of yourself, brother.
I will stop for now, then.
Okay. So you begin to try to shut down this connection. But the influx, it's almost like all that water coming down that hallway. It's like trying to shut the doors on that. You have opened a floodgate of voices and consciousness that are just pouring out, and you were the first thing in thousands of years that has ever reached back. And so I need you're going to have to expend some magic points to kind of shut that gate. But first you're going to need to roll a power roll to see if you can. You have essentially opened the dam, and you are trying to shut it back.
Well, when I notice there's resistance, I'm going to stay in.
Okay. So you're still hearing these flooding of voices pouring into your head and screaming and calling out for you and crying and all of these noises. So what are you doing with that?
the strongest presence, I'm going to try to find and ask, who is she and how do we stop her?
Okay. So you kind of sift through the voices and you hear what sounds like, I guess, the calmest voice, the one that seems to be the most intact. But it's still strained. It's kind of muttering to itself. It's a young man, just over on it. Just, there's blood and it's everywhere. We have to get out. We have to go. We have to go. And there's blood and there's everywhere. We have to go. We have to get out. Just over and over again. But it doesn't sound frantic. It sounds more like he's kind of stuck in a loop. And you kind of reach out to him and you ask him, who is this woman? Things like that. You feel that kind of spark reignite as those memories of that same man begin to flood back through your head, this worker. But a new memory pops up where he's working on something, he's carving something, and he hears, somebody speaking behind him. He turns a little and looks, and it's one of the 6 strangers from another country, dressed in this kind of Mandarin collar. Really, for you, gives off, someone from maybe Morocco. There's really these bright colors with this high collar neckline. And you hear them talking about something about this being that has been plaguing all these different, communities and countries, and that she's looking to awaken her brethren. She wants to, bring back the old gods, and whoever they're talking to, it's like, yes, but they'll never find us here. We first have to take care of this child. This child has to be put away. It is too dangerous. It's too destructive. It's raised whole cities and burned down forests. We have to deal with this problem now. If not, we're all to perish. And then the memory kind of fades away as the voice goes back to muttering, there's so much blood and we have to go. We have to get out of here. We have to go. There's so much blood. We have to go. And take 1 point of sanity damage.
So I see Bernard still doing the thing. Like, don't do the thing.
Don't
Still
do the
doing the thing. I was thinking we need to get out of here. So in my head, the floor of this place looks like, in some places it's gridded off for like excavation, and like there's still like little stakes and strings and squares that have been dug down 1 foot or whatever. So I was just kind of gonna start working my way through that to the door that, based on the light coming in from the mostly missing ceiling, I assume isn't gonna lead outside. So I'm headed to that door.
Okay, yeah.
To get out of here.
And it does in fact lead outside to proper outside that, if you walked a couple 100 yards forward and then to one side, you'd be facing back to the front where you'd be able to see the car and all those things. So you are able to proceed out that door.
Okay, so as I get to the door, so is there an actual door there, or is it just a doorway?
It's a doorway.
I'm gonna look back over my shoulder. Well, come on, we've got to get out of here. Those people are long since dead, unless we want to join them. It's time to go, right? I mean, geez, we took care of the thing, right? Our job here is done, right? On to the next one. Back to England for a little R&R. Scones and tea. Come on, guys.
I'll try to disconnect.
Okay, so roll that power roll.
52 under a 55.
Nice. So you are able to disconnect. It does cost you 2 magic points to do so. I don't know if that's how magic points work. That's how we're working them right now. And kiss my grits. But you are able to disconnect, and a lot of it has to do with, you're hearing Nate calling out, and you're kind of able to pull your mind away from those voices, and it's almost like using his voice as a guiding to get back to where you need to be, and you're listening to him, and you're focusing on him and trying to push out all those other ones and begin to shut those floodgates. Once you finally get them shut, there's this moment where your whole body kind of feels like the moment you are on an elevator, and it kind of does that little drop thing, where you feel a little woozy. You don't fall, but there's this moment of the disconnect is very jarring for your equilibrium and your body as a whole. Yeah. Cara, what you doing?
Where does Bartholomew, have the book on his possession? Where?
Bernard?
Bernard, oh my god.
It's like, who's Bartholomew?
One of these days, I'll actually get these names straight.
Yeah.
Where do you hold the book, good sir?
Probably in a pack.
We have to help these people, and she's going to go for your pack to get the book out. And she's going to start flipping through, trying to make sense of anything.
Okay. So you're going to dive for his bag
Yes.
and try to take it off of him.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to consider that a fighting maneuver.
Yep.
Not with the intent of doing damage, but with the intent of overcoming.
Yep.
And you need to decide if you're fighting back or dodging or just letting her dive into your bag.
He's going to probably not put up a whole lot of resistance, but he is going to be like, what are you doing?
So no need to roll. He's not going to stop you. Right? You're not.
You should still roll.
Oh.
I think. In case it's a fumble.
It could be a fumble. You just face plant.
What role is it?
Brawl.
Success. Yeah, success.
Okay.
And now you get to check it.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. It was a 23 under a 40.
Yeah, so narrate this for me. What does it look like when you dive for this bag? How do you get it from him?
So Nate is trying to get them out. He is just coming to, and she is seeing her options dissipate. And she goes, I have to do something. So while he is still coming to, she's just going to grab the bulk of the pack and just rip it out. Is it a shoulder bag?
Crossbody.
Fanny pack?
I would think it would be a crossbody.
Okay. Then she's going to lift up the latch and pull it out.
Okay.
I'm assuming the book is pretty big in there and easy to pick out.
It's a pretty sizable tome. Okay. So you want to start flipping through it?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything that you would like to do in response? No? Okay. Yeah, so you can start flipping through.
Is anything jumping out at me, anything that I could use?
So Bernard has spent quite a bit of time learning how to read this because he figured out that it is a mix of several different languages.
Mm-hmm.
So you are going to need to roll language.
Which one?
Yeah.
Honestly, any of them at this point, because you're just you're hoping to find any words you recognize, except for your own, because there's no English.
Okay, then I'm gonna use Spanish, I guess.
Okay.
I need the plot gods to just pull
Plot
through.
gods.
Oh, spin the luck, spin the luck.
I am spending the luck. 17 over 15, and I'm gonna spend the 2 luck points to get there.
Okay. Yeah, so you begin to flip through. You go several pages without seeing anything that really jumps out. You get to a page, and the first word that comes out is time.
When I see her stop, I'm going to say, we don't really have time for this right now. We could stay here and try to look at it, or we can take it back and try to find something and come back when we're not as dire circumstances.
Last I checked, all the cultists are dead. And the people have been suffering here long enough. She is going to keep reading the passage she's on. Because between reading time, hearing him say time, it's like, what if this is like a way to reverse their state of time? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, bring them.
Yeah, Nate standing in the doorway looking back, seeing this, just throws his hands up in exasperation and starts walking back into the room. Okay, geez, guys. All right, what do we need to do? How can I help you do whatever the hell it is that's keeping you from going out this door?
We have to help these people somehow. Stop their pain.
Can we just like chisel them out of the walls?
That didn't work for the soldier with nothing
Yeah.
but shins.
Hey, I got a question for you. So, like you were talking to them soldiers and you tried to communicate with this soldier, but he really couldn't do anything because he's like, I don't know, in pieces and shit. But, I mean, geez, I'm just wondering. Have you tried making a connection with, like, your pocket soldier? Like, is there geez, was there like some little itty bitty guy got stuck into that little piece of stone? I mean, just whip your pocket soldier out and you know what I'm saying? Make a personal connection.
You guys are making me regret the pocket soldier.
I'm just saying he might have answers is all I'm saying, right? And he's smaller, so maybe it won't hurt as much to talk to him.
Am I feeling any sort of consciousness in him, or is it more of it was just doing what it saw the big guys doing?
No, I mean, there's the same consciousness.
Because they did it from the authentic stone of... So, yeah.
They told you at the gift shop that he was carved from authentic Tula stones.
Look at you with the memory and shit.
Yes, so he does have a consciousness. He can respond just like the other ones do. And he did. When you, for some of them, he came out and you had him in your hand and he was moving about.
So I'm going to try to talk to him.
Okay.
Ask him the same question I asked last time. Who is she and how do we stop her?
Okay. With this one, the connection is, I don't want to say weak,
Smaller?
but it's fragmented. The bits you're getting back are less talking or visual cues. It's more like feelings, intuition. It's like you're getting, it's like giving it a vibe check almost. Like you're getting something off it, but it is incomplete. Does that make sense? But you do get the impression of fear and desperation and just yearning for something specific. And when you ask about the woman specifically, there is a intense spike in the fear. It is massive. It is overwhelming. The amount of fear and trepidation that is coming from this tiny little stone warrior in your hands at the mere mention of this woman being thing.
Kara, I always thought his pocket soldier would be bigger.
And it's hard as a rock. You open this door. You did this to yourself.
At least he didn't say Peter's out for the Painted Mountain.
Peter's out. Yeah, I did say that. So, Cara, you
Yep.
got the book here. What you
Yep.
doing? So, most of what's on here, this page, you cannot read. There's a few bits in Spanish, but they're, you know, there's the word time, there's the word lock, there's the word, you know, just random words. They don't seem to have any kind of rhyme or reason to them without the context of the words around them. You don't have enough to understand what you're reading.
In my time with the book, would I have possibly seen something that might, oh yeah, that one thing, like pop up?
Yeah. So, looking over it with her, you see the same words she sees. You also see some other words about, you know, birth and beauty and the sky. And as you kind of begin to kind of work through it, you're getting the vibe that this is something to do with an augmenting of time passage. But you also can see that this, and you've done some research into this book, that some of these things have quite the lengthy resources list. You know, you gotta have this, you gotta have this, you gotta do this, you gotta sacrifice that, whatever. You know, there's like a long itinerary, and this one does seem to have a very lengthy requirement list. And you definitely see things like the talon of an eagle, the skin of the ashwood tree, what you're seeing, this very lengthy grocery shopping list that Kara's not noticing. The words aren't really jiving with her, but you're getting the impression that this is something that requires an immense amount of preparation to enact. And you're not entirely sure as to, when it talks about the augmentation of time, you're not sure if it's talking about time for everybody, time for a single person, if it's shortening it, if it's lengthening. You're not sure of how it's going to manifest, given this just short, glazing over of this thing. You would need time to sit down with the book and really work through the whole thing to get the context of the spell.
We can add this to our medium-term goals, but I think it would be smart to get out of here and get Iggy home.
Fine. She slams the book shut and she shoves it back at him, like back into his arms, like, fine, have your book. Let's go. Like, clearly pissed off about it, but she's overruled.
Right. You start storming off.
Yes.
Like
Just
mad mom at the grocery store going to the car.
yeah.
Yeah. I get you. What you doing over there, Nate?
Well, I see her moving towards the door, then I'm going to turn and start heading towards the door. And like, finally, let's get out of here. And yeah, geez, I wonder if those soldiers could have like screamed at these walls and crumbled them and released everybody.
What you doing over there, Bernard?
I'm leaving with them.
Okay. So you guys are able to walk, like I said, a couple, 100 yards or so up the side of this building, over some roped off areas, back around to the front of the building where you can see your car parked. And Iggy is still knocked out in the back seat. You guys do a cursory look over him. He seems fine. Pulse is stable. Breathing is stable. He's just knocked out, needs some time to recover, because realistically it's been about an hour and a half tops.
Yeah, so we know there was the cultist, and then all the other dead bodies, they were like gathered with him, I'm assuming, in the room with the stone slab. And then something, presumably maybe their incantations or whatever, opened the slab and out came Magma Monster, the Painted Mountain, which then proceeded to just destroy all of them. And then that created a river of blood that was flowing down. The cultist guy comes into the hallway with the warriors. He's doing some chanting. Bernard takes care of that. In comes the big Painted Mountain magma monster, totally destroying walls and doorways and stuff as it moves its huge body through.
Yep.
There are park rangers. I think we saw some law enforcement, or at least workers up near. So has all of that drawn any attention?
So this area is kind of set up like a state park. Like there's a visitor center, and then there is a drive to like a gate center, and then a drive to Tula.
Right.
So there is, 2-mile stretch between any of these landmarks of actual Tula, the gate, and the visitor center. So as of right now, no, the only thing left is y'all's vehicle. You do notice that there is an additional set of tire tracks that has pulled up next to your car and then kind of doubled back around on itself back off.
Okay. So, you see those tire tracks there, I guess that's a vehicle that brought in these cultists, or were they like hiding in the temple the whole time? Look, I'm all for it. Let's get out of here. Right? I've been screaming that for the last 10 minutes, but we got a gate to get through. Maybe the only hard part. We can just drive past the visitor center, but I don't know.
It might be hard to get out without the one guide that brought us down here.
It'd be harder to get out with him. Cause
he did.
That's true.
So we can just say, he's down there. He wanted to sweep up something. And just told us go that way and we could leave. I don't know, but
I mean, we're going back to the UK and probably won't ever have to worry about this again once we get gone. But Iggy was seen with the guy.
Called the guy.
And Iggy lives here, so...
Yeah, so I'm going to give Iggy a couple of light taps on the cheek. Iggy, are you still with us, man?
Yeah, as you begin to kind of try to rouse him, you see his eyes kind of... Ow. Shit, what is happening?
Oh, dude, you took a spell, man. Hit the hell out of your head. Hey, your buddy, Jorge?
Yeah, Jorge.
Yeah, he didn't make it, man. Some crazy shit happened down there. You were out for most of it.
What do you mean didn't make it? Like, I don't understand.
Like a big freaking sonic blast. Help me with my memory here. At the door we were gonna go into. To go
there
down.
Was the structure. The reason why they didn't want us to go in, the structure was a little bit unstable, and some of it fell.
Oh no, Jorge!
It knocked you out.
Oh.
We tried to do some first aid on him, but he was already gone by the time we got around to him.
Oh, we should call someone to help.
Oh, there were some people that came.
And how long have I been in the car?
About an hour, maybe.
Oh.
There's a hell of a whomp on your head, man. Like,
I can tell. Oh no.
So we need to get you back to the hacienda there, bro. And I mean, geez, nothing like some good food and your family taking care of you, right? So why don't you sit up front in case we got to talk to somebody at the guard? tower, the guard gate there, and I think it's best we just head back, get you in the care of Abuela and them.
Yes, yeah, I guess that, yeah, my head is, oh, it's killing me. Yeah, so he starts getting up and is very slow going, kind of makes his way around the car, kind of holding on to the car as he goes and gets in the front seat.
All right, we ready to carry you? You ready? I mean, I know you wanted to, what? You know, what?
Let's just go.
I mean, don't be mad at Bernard. He's just doing what he thinks is right here. So I'm going to get into the driver's seat.
Okay. Yeah. You guys can all pile into the car and start making your way to the guard post. So as you pull up the guard, there's like a little gate and he's got it down. And did you guys enjoy Tula? Was it good? Where is Jorge?
Yeah, Jorge said he was hanging back. He wanted to, prepare the area, get something ready for somebody else he was showing it to tomorrow. I can't remember what all he was saying. All I was thinking is, Jesus, it's hot here. Can we get home to some airflow or something? So, yeah, he's down there taking care of Tula
okay.
business or something. But Iggy here, he's not feeling so well. We need to get him to the house.
And the guy kind of like looks past you to see Iggy, and he's like, yeah, reaches over hitting the button. And then Iggy kind of looks up, he's like, and the little thing comes up and you start rolling for it. You hear, but I thought you said that but Jorge, and you start to drive a little faster. But I thought you said that Jorge was, I'm so confused.
Tired. Jorge was dead tired.
But oh my head. Oh, I feel like I could sleep for 1,000 years.
Yeah, let's not do that because, trust me. Apparently it's not all it's cracked up to be. So, I'm going to drive past the...
Yep, able to leave with no issues. So you guys can head back to Jorge's home and Iggy's home. And if you would like to stay there and do something, you may. If you would like to go ahead and head back to Statham Manor, you may. It's your choice. What would you like to do?
I am going to, when we get back, track down Kara and pop the book open and be like, so how much of this can you understand? Together we may be able to find something.
Only a few words. I know we would need to study it before we got anywhere. It's just... they have waited for so long.
Kara, there's this moment where you start to feel that pent-up anger begin to kind of roil down. Like everything's kind of your safer place. You're beginning to kind of talk with your friend. You begin to start settling back into your normal disposition.
Cool.
They have waited a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, a few weeks probably wouldn't be anything. It's just a drop in the bucket compared to how long they've been so far. But the one you had open looking at, I'm not sure if it pertains to it at all, and it had a lengthy list of requirements that we wouldn't have had access to for a while. We can look through the book and try to find something, but I don't know. Maybe you have a lot of connections. Maybe there's someone at Statham that would have better luck with it than we will.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe Saphira?
Yeah.
So you guys are kind of all like, in my head, you're in that lower portion of your suite, that's like the outdoor living space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
You're not?
No, I went into our little guest house area while they were talking about the book because it has no interest to me. And looked around through cabinets and everything, trying to find like a bottle of mezcal or something. And I'll find a quiet little area, little room or something. I have a couple of shots. I brought about, I think it was like $6,000.
Yeah, you
I'm
brought
going to
quite the
take
heavy cash.
$1,000 and I'm going to find an envelope in a writing desk or something. I'm going to shove $1,000 into a silly envelope, and I'm going to write Jorge's family on it. And then while they're talking, I'm going to go find Iggy and ask him to make sure that Jorge's family gets that money.
Okay. And there's a long conversation with Iggy, who's still trying to figure out what happened. But, he says he's happy to do, whatever you need for him to do on that, and it's not a problem. The two of you are kind of in your downstairs outdoor living space talking about this. Cara, you're starting to feel yourself kind of return back to normal. Bernard, you're trying to help Cara understand that while yes, this is an important task, we have to go about it the right way. We have to go about it safely. We have to be prepared, or we need to find good resources to do so.
The
family dog.
The Mexican hairless rounding around the
Chupacabra.
The interior of this compound has a much deeper voice than I pictured him having when we first saw him.
Yeah, a little bit. You guys hear, the two of you hear a slight shuffling approaching your downstairs outdoor area, and you look up to see Abuela kind of shuffling her way in like a house coat and a pair of slippers to you. And she comes over to you, Cara, and she kind of pats your cheek and gives you a little squeeze like on the shoulder, just kind of reassuringly. But then she walks over to you, Bernard, and she's not looking at you, but she's like facing you, and she puts her hands on both sides of your face, and she's Iggy did well. Iggy did well. Iggy found stone. Iggy did good job. Abuela very proud of Iggy. Abuela can feel stone. Stone feel Iggy, stone feel Abuela. Abuela very proud. And pats your hand and then begins to shuffle back to the house.
So I think Nate is walking up right after this. And as he gets closer and he sees these two, like they were looking at the book and trying to figure it out, I was thinking, they're never going to figure this thing out. They needed some help. So as I walk up, I say, hey, Cara, why don't you just, call your friend up and see if, he can do so. And about the time I get that much out, I remember that her friend was like, hey, I got to go upstairs for a second. I think I saw a bottle up there.
Give me like 5 minutes and I'll join you.
Hey, pretty comfortable down here. How about I just bring the bottle down and we chill here?
Anything else pressing that you guys want to do before I monologue us out?
Nope.
You bring down a bottle and a couple glasses. It's a balmy evening. It's pretty quiet between the three of you. You kind of just are relaxing, just trying to kind of process the day. Can each of you roll me a D6?
Six.
Why is this not working?
Do you want me to roll you a D6 on my side?
No, I've got a D6
Okay.
over here. One.
Nice. Well, it was the lowest on a D6. So, Nate, tell me what is the last thing that we hear you break the silence with on this evening before we close?
So we've all been sipping on the tequila. I look around and I pour a little more into everybody's glass and set the bottle down. And then I'll raise up and look at the two of them and say, well, that's one more down, right? Morocco, Egypt, Mexico. 3 out of 6. One more down.
And that's where we're going to end it tonight. We appreciate all of you guys coming and watching us. I have been Emily, your keeper. That's Steve. That's John. That's Hannah. This has been our homebrew Call of Cthulhu campaign, The Children of Cthulhu, and the chapter Laughing at the Wind. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
I always forget Morocco happened because I wasn't here for it.
You weren't here for Morocco.